really figure out them different, how they compare to the big tech platforms we all interact with.
Well, that's exactly what we're aiming to do in this deep dive.
Yeah, we want to get under the hood of one specific example. We're calling it DAO1 for now.
And really understand its core ideas, its philosophy, and importantly, how it actually works differently from those traditional centralized systems. We've got some really interesting material to unpack here.
Okay, let's dive in then. The first thing that just jumps out, I think, is where the power actually lies.
Right.
With DAO1, it seems like the value created isn't just kept by some central company. It's actually built, earned, and owned by the community members, the people involved.
Yeah, it's almost the complete opposite of that typical corporate setup where, decisions and profits mostly flow from the top down.
Exactly. Now, to be fair, that centralized model, it has its appeal for some people, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's important to acknowledge that. Many people actually prefer having someone clearly in charge.
Like a captain of the ship.
Kind of, yeah. Someone making the calls, handling the messy bits, providing that sense of maybe stability or predictability. There's a certain comfort factor there.
Definitely. Some people are quite happy to just be users, trusting that the people at the top have their best interests at heart, or that, the benefits will eventually trickle down.
But DAO1 seems to be saying, no, let's flip that completely.
Yeah, it's built on this decentralized idea where the community itself is actually in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm. They set the direction together, they agree on the rules for the platform, and they even manage the tools they use day to day.
It's a fundamental shift, really. Instead of waiting for permission or hoping value comes down from on high.
The DAO1 model empowers people to actively build the thing and, crucially, get a direct share in its success. It's moving away from hierarchy towards something more, well, distributed and participatory.
And this isn't just talk, is it? The material gives some concrete examples of how this community thing works,
Yeah.
like launching projects using something called the wizard.
Yes, the wizard sounds intriguing, seems to be a key tool for that community-led innovation.
Okay.
And it also mentions that community members earn fees directly, for example, by providing liquidity to the platform.
Ah, so there's a direct financial incentive to participate, not just goodwill.
Precisely. It creates a really tangible reason to be actively involved.
And it goes beyond just launching things or providing liquidity, right? The community is also like building tools,
Yeah.
sharing knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Developing tools, getting the word out on social media, creating training materials, courses. It's all driven by the users.
The source calls it a builder's network.
Hmm.
I like that.
It captures it well, I think. It's about people doing things, taking action, not needing a stamp of approval from a central office.
Which must create a different kind of feeling, a real sense of ownership.
Absolutely. Shared responsibility. And that connects to another interesting group mentioned, the active affiliates.
Right. And they're not just presented as like typical marketers trying to get clicks.
No, the framing is different. They're called onboarders of opportunity.
Okay. Onboarders of opportunity. What does that mean in practice?
It means that when they share DAO1 and bring new people in, they're not just boosting user numbers, they're actually strengthening the whole ecosystem.
And they benefit directly too, right?
Right.
Through some kind of long-term token system.
Exactly. Through the platform's tokenomics. The economic design using tokens is set up to reward this activity and align everyone's interests for the long haul. Growth benefits the affiliates who help make it happen.
So that's how decentralization can actually scale. By cutting out the middlemen.
That seems to be the idea. Growing the network effect, making value creation and distribution more direct, more community-focused, without those traditional gatekeepers.
Okay, let's go back to that wizard thing for a second. The Apertum wizard. It sounds potentially quite powerful.
Mm-hmm.
The claim is that even people without coding skills can use it to launch smart contract projects, like really quickly.
Which, if true, is a big deal. It dramatically lowers the barrier for people to actually build things in this space.
Yeah, imagine not needing to be a hardcore developer to launch your idea.
And they give examples too. Projects called SKY, SFUT, Puglord, apparently launched using this wizard.
And crucially, without needing VC money or getting permission from some board.
Exactly. Community-driven from the start. Conceived, built, launched by the community.
And now they're live projects on the blockchain, running on the platform's own gas token, APTM.
Right, and that APTM token is what fuels everything, the transactions, the smart contracts executing. It underscores that self-starting, self-sustaining aspect of the model.
Okay, another interesting point mentioned is the launch strategy. DAO1 apparently went DEX first.
Yes, decentralized exchange first, which is quite different from how many centralized platforms launch. They often aim for a CEX, a centralized exchange first.
And you can see why from a traditional viewpoint.
Right.
Launching on a CEX gives the company more control.
Control over the initial price, maybe managing the market, potentially trying to build hype or perceived value in a controlled way.
But DAO1 chose the DX route. What's the upside there, according to the source?
The key benefit highlighted is community control. With the DX launch, the price, the trading liquidity, even the fees generated from trading, it's all determined and managed more directly by the community and the market forces within the ecosystem, not a central entity pulling the strings.
Got it. So pulling all this together, the source material lays out a pretty stark contrast.
It really does. It gives these direct comparison points. Like on a centralized platform, you're basically a user.
Whereas in DAO1, you're positioned as a stakeholder, someone with skin in the game.
Right. And profits in centralized systems, they tend to flow upwards to the company, the executives, the shareholders.
But in DAO1, the idea is that rewards are distributed much more broadly across the entire ecosystem to those contributing.
Then there's the rules. On a typical platform, the terms of service, the rules, they can change overnight. Poof.
Yeah, we've all seen that happen.
Yeah.
But DAO1 uses smart contracts.
Which are supposed to automate fairness. The rules are coded, more transparent, harder to change arbitrarily. Predictable.
And finally, the roadmap. Your influence on where a typical platform is going is often pretty limited.
Minimal say, usually. Whereas DAO1 is described as having an open source, crowd-powered roadmap, the community has a real voice in the future direction.
So yeah, it really is trying to flip that whole centralized model on its head,
Fundamentally.
which leads to a pretty pointed question the source asks, directed right at you, the listener.
It basically asks, do you want to just be a user carrying out someone else's vision?
Or do you want to be a builder, actively involved in creating a decentralized future?
And it frames DAO1 as being for the builders, for the people willing to act, to participate, to own the outcome.
Not for those just waiting for instructions.
Exactly. It suggests it requires a proactive stance.
It's interesting, too, that the material kind of acknowledges, hey, this isn't for everyone.
Yeah, it accepts that some people won't get it or won't prefer it, and that's okay.
It sort of links that preference for centralization with maybe a desire for comfort or an easier path, less responsibility, perhaps.
Possibly.
Yeah.
While positioning DAO1 as the choice for those who really value freedom, that sense of ownership, and the chance to, build something meaningful themselves.
It implies a trade-off.
Mm.
Comfort versus freedom and ownership.
That seems to be the underlying message. And it concludes that thought by saying DAO1 is where freedom starts and where community owns the outcome. Pretty strong statements.
Very strong. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, the key takeaway really seems to be this massive shift from company control to community ownership.
Absolutely. We've seen how that plays out in launching projects, distributing rewards, setting rules, deciding the future. The whole power structure is different. It's inverted, really.
Yeah. And thinking about the bigger picture, with digital ownership and community power becoming increasingly important topics, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What are the long-term consequences of choosing one model over the other, centralized versus decentralized, for how we interact online, how we create value?
It's a crucial question. Which model actually aligns better with your own personal values, your own hopes for what the internet could be? Definitely something worth mulling over.